How's it hanging, YouTube? This is King of Pharaoh Limps, and I'm on Dueling Network with a little not no okay. I'm gonna call it a deck profile, but this is just a deck that I've been testing for the April 2016 format here for Yu-Gi-Oh. This is Umbral Horrors, and as you know, I did take not too big of a hit, but I was playing the clowns and I did lose those, so that did hurt. And then I did play 3 Upstart Goblin in the deck because you just really needed that to get things going. And that got hit, and then Norden got hit. But on the bright side, we did get something buff, so I'm just going to go ahead and deck profile this really quickly. You will want to stay to the end because I'll be doing some stuff. I wanted to have some duels, but those didn't go over well, so I'm just going to be talking about it. In no way is this the actual complete deck that I'm doing, because if it was, then I would be doing it in real life, but this is just something I've been testing, so that's why it's on Dueling Network here. So, of course, 3 copies of the Umbral Horror on form. The effect, of course, you do have to ram it into your opponent's monster, take some damage, and then you get to special summon 2 Umbral Horror monsters from your deck. Most of the time, it's going to be Ghoul or Will-O-The-Wisp. Ghoul's a pretty good one. He has 1800. He's a beater. And then his effect is that once per turn, you can make his attack 0 to special summon another Umbral Horror with 0 attack from your hand. So you can't use Ghoul to summon Ghoul. You have to use Ghoul to summon Unform or the Will-O-The-Wisp. And Will-O-The-Wisp is the least useful. I mean, he's got like a decent effect that can destroy your opponent's monsters and stuff. But he is level 1. His effect is that when it's summoned, you get to target another Umbral Horror either on your field or in your grave, and then copy the level. So there's that. That, of course, is the reason we're only playing 2 of him because rather than 3, because you could max out, but I just don't like drawing him. I'd rather summon him off of Unform and then use Unform to copy the other Ghoul that I summon, and or something else in the grave, and then he's level 4 at least. If you draw it, it's probably the worst thing, especially if you draw it first turn, because you have almost nothing to copy. Well, I mean, unless you get Ghoul, because you can go Ghoul, activate effects, summon Wisp, copy Ghoul, and then you have 2 level 4s, so that's all right. What's best is if first turn you draw a Ghoul and an Unform, then you can Ghoul to summon the Unform attack to get 2 more Ghouls, and it's really good. That's it. That's all for Umbral Horrors. That's really all there is, and all that's good. So that's the main core of the deck. Of course, you can see they're all level 4 dark monsters, which of course by now you know. So that's all the support. Now, I was playing the clowns before, Damage Juggler, because Damage Juggler just comboed so well with Unform, and the Damage Juggler search Hat Tricker, and I considered leaving Hat Tricker in, but I realized, you know what, since we lost a lot of speed, we really have to make this a dedicated Key Beetle deck. So I'm playing 3 copies of Evil Swarm Mandragora. The effect is, of course, your opponent controls more monsters than you do. You can special summon this card from your hand. It is different from Hat Tricker, but it's effectively the same thing. Now, of course, you can use Hat Tricker when you control 1 monster, your opponent controls 1 monster. Then you can easily summon that. But otherwise, it's at the very least, it's a decent other normal summon monster that you can use. You can use Hat Tricker instead, but currently I'm using 3 Mandragora because, again, this is a dedicated Key Beetle deck right now. 3 Kage Tokage, of course, normal summon any of these, summon a Kage. It's happened several times where I actually draw a Mandragora and a Kage, and that's pretty much it, or 1 Mandragora and 2 Kages. So I have to normal summon the Mandragora and then the Kage Tokage, but it doesn't matter because then I can make a Key Beetle from there. So it works. 3 Secret Sect Druid Drew because I did have to bring it up to 3. The effect is basically a Debris Dragon for a dark monster with 0 attack and or defense. So that applies to all your Umbral Horror monsters. You at least have 6 targets, or himself. Can you summon? No, you can't summon himself. Sorry. You at least have 3 targets, or do you? You can't summon Wisp because it does negate the effects. You can bring out Wisp and then Wisp copy one of these and become level 4. So that's why he's not that useful, but it's still good. That's why I'm bringing it up to 3. And I figured, you kind of have to go for late game more so because we don't have Upstart, so we can't get things started as quickly. But you can at least have these for later, and they do come in handy. And then this is the last one I'm trying out, Raid Raptor Singing Lanius. Yes, a Raid Raptor. I think I mentioned in my last deck profile of this that I wanted to try something with Raid Raptors, like specifically, and that hasn't worked so far, just because, Raid Raptors are not so specific, but for the most part, you do have to have several other Raid Raptors, and I don't exactly have the space or the time or resources for a full Raid Raptor engine, but at least 2 Singing Lanius, or maybe 1, is useful. This guy is all right. the basic effect is that if you control a face-up Exceeds monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only summon once per turn. But that's pretty useful because it is a level 4 dark monster, which, again, if you control an Exceeds monster, which we control, we have a lot of Exceeds monsters, it is a free thing. Because we don't. Okay, so the only other special summon stuff, most things get normal summon. I mean, Ghoul you can use Ghoul to special summon an Unform, and Unform can make more of itself. This does require something in the grave, and then this you do after normal something, and then this is other special summon. But like this is just an added extra normal summon or special summon power of a dark monster. Say you control more monsters than your opponent, but you have an Exceeds monster, but you still need something, and you have like a Mandragora and a Singing Lanius, then at least you're not stuck with like 2 normal summons. You can normal summon this and special summon this because you control an Exceeds monster, or vice versa. If you don't control an Exceeds monster, but you do control less monster than your opponent, you can combo Mandragora that, or Kage normal that, and Kage. At the very least, you can still normal summon this and combo with Kage or Mandragora to get some sort of effect off. Now, I'm actually really disappointed because, look, it has 100 attack and 100 defense. It's really close to having 0 attack, 0 defense. And if it did, then it would be perfect for this deck because then you can at least summon it with Drew. And pretty much if it has synergy with Drew, it just works with a deck. So yeah, 2 Singing Lanius. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the monsters. Aside from that, just 1 Mystic Tomato. I don't know if I cut this or increased it. I considered increasing it to 2 to 3, but because of the no upstart, so we need to get things going. But it's still there. Basically, you can use it to summon Unform, and that's all you need it for. Don't summon anything else. Still not playing Summoner Monk because I don't have enough spells particularly, and I don't like to use them all. And like it's what have I said? What have I said about Summoner Monk? Yeah, you have to discard spells, and I don't like doing that. For spells, 2 Allura Darkness. Oh gosh, this feels so good to have. So basically, draw 2 cards, then banish 1 dark monster. We do have quite a few dark monsters, and I mean, even though you do have to banish 1, there's still some you can do, right? Kages, you can easily banish those because you end up drawing into them and searching them pretty often. And depending on what else you draw, say if you happen to draw an Unform and a Ghoul or other things, you want to sooner banish this. Mandragora is also a decent target. Will-o'-the-Wisp is also a decent target. Drew and Singing Lanius. Tomato, I guess, but the things you do not want to banish are Unform or Ghoul. You almost never want to banish them because they can always come back, at least with Drew. And I mean Recurring Nightmare if you happen to be playing that. And I consider playing it in this deck, but we'll have to see. 2 Mystical Space Typhoon as well as 1 Twin Twister. Now, of course, only 1 Twin Twister because I don't like discarding things. You really need your resources. That's one reason. I mean, I've considered playing Mass Change second, but I just really do not like discarding. But Twin Twister, it's almost worth it because if you can clear your opponent's back row and then on your turn get in for a free Umbral Unform attack, then that's great. 1 Day of Peace lets you draw and then you take no damage. Of course, combos with Unform, it's kind of needed. Your opponent does draw 2, but you get a card deeper into your deck and at least you're protected if you go Unform, and even worse if you have to go Tomato into Unform. 1 Instant Fusion because we play that now, obviously. But yeah, Instant Fusion, of course, some of the 1 Norden. But I'm only playing 1. I consider leaving it at 2 and trying some other super secret techs. But for now, since Norden's at 1, Instant Fusion is fine at 1. And then 1 Pot of Dichotomy. We play a bunch of different types of monsters. We have fiends, plants, reptiles, spellcasters, and then now Winged Beast. And then on top of that, Norden, which easily gets in the graveyard, which is a fairy. So you can easily use this. It does work for, later game because that's sort of what the deck is optimized for. Now for traps, we have different things, and I should have organized these as well. But basically, 3 trap holes because we are 3 different types of trap holes because we are playing the Rafflesia in the extra deck, so they just help with that. I'm playing 3 different force cards, 1 Quaking and 2 Storming. Storming is just so good. Maybe you should almost up it to 3 Storming, but I like teching a Quaking just because it's fun. The 2 Solemns, Solemn Strike, Solemn Warning. I would play 2 Strike, but we do have to take damage in the deck with Unform. So that's the only reason I'm not playing 2 Strikes. But otherwise, I almost definitely would. 1 Vanity's Emptiness, of course, to combo with Key Beetle, stop your opponent from special summoning. And is that all the traps? Aside from the 3 Safe Zone, because I've upped it to 3 Safe Zone now, which I actually have to pick up IRL and is pretty high online. We play this because Key Beetle. Key Beetle Safe Zone, you get locked. You lock your opponent. Yeah, so that's basically it. Aside from just the extra deck, the Norden, Dweller, Karen Gordon, 2 Castells, because I feel like 2 Castells you need. Cowboy, Samurai, me, 101, Masquerade, because Masquerade's actually pretty good, Giant Hand, 3 Key Beetle, and then 1 Rafflesia. All of these are very self-explanatory. The Key Beetle just works with the deck. Of course, there are a bunch of different level 4 or rank 4 Xyz monsters that you can use. Also, ignore the side deck. This is just stuff that I was popping in and testing, or popping in to pop out. I mean, if you look, I have the Rank Up Magic and no rank up targets. That's just stuff I like to keep in the queue. But that is it for this deck profile. There are a bunch of different things that I would like to mention. Now, first of all, one thing that happened is we actually got Thousand Eyes Restrict back. So Thousand Eyes Restrict, I don't want to say that it's an option, but it's interesting at the very least. So let me at least bring this up. Say we do play Thousand Eyes Restrict. We still have Instant Fusion at 3 that did not get hit at all. So you can still play, you know, a copy of Instant Fusion. Now, this is one monster I wanted to mention. Phantom of Chaos. Okay. There we go. Phantom of Chaos. So what Phantom of Chaos is, it's a level 4 dark monster with 0 attack and 0 defense. So synergy, of course, with Drew. And it's not a bad normal summon. It says any battle damage your opponent takes becomes 0. Once per turn, you can target 1 effect monster in your graveyard, banish that target until the end phase. This card's name and attack become that monster's name and attack. It gains that monster's effects, and you must control this face-up card to resolve this effect. So obviously, this is something interesting. And I definitely would be playing this if I was able to fit in Dark Armed Dragon into this deck, which you definitely could. If you want to, you can definitely put in a Dark Armed Dragon and play it. And if so, this is an interesting engine here. Oh, I lost my I lost my Thousand Eyes Restrict. There we go. But yeah, that's basically here's a crazy idea I thought. So how about you play Thousand Eyes Restrict in the extra deck? Say you, I don't know, you don't need 2 Castells maybe. You're playing Thousand Eyes Restrict in the extra deck, and in the main deck you're playing this engine. Say you happen to fit 2 Instant Fusion. Don't do this. Do not do this. Let me repeat. 43, that's not a good number. So say you're able to fit this. You're able to fit in 2 Instant Fusion because it's actually good because you get a higher chance of drawing it to use Norden. You play Dark Armed Dragon because you actually can control your graveyard relatively well, and it's just a big beater, and you're playing the Phantom of Chaos. So the reason I feel like you need Phantom of Chaos and Dark Armed Dragon is because Phantom of Chaos, there's not so many dark things. I mean, aside from the extra deck, you can banish a Key Beetle to be a big beater. You can banish Karen Gorgon. But I mean, like, if you're playing Dark Armed Dragon, then it's just useful because Dark Armed Dragon you can easily bring out, and if somehow you happen to lose it, you at least have the Phantom of Chaos in the deck. You can normal summon it. It becomes the Dark Armed Dragon, and then you can banish things, pop more stuff, and it's a decent beater, but only for 1 turn. So yeah, it's a Cinderella thing. And then at the very least, if it goes to the graveyard, if it gets destroyed, you can at least bring it back with Drew and make a decent rank 4. Aside from that, so like I said, playing 2 Instant Fusions, right? You can at least use that on Thousand Eyes Restrict. Now the downside is, I really don't think it's worth it using Instant Fusion to bring out Thousand Eyes Restrict because you do have to pay 1,000. It can't attack and it's destroyed. But let's say you do. Let's say you use Instant Fusion on Thousand Eyes Restrict, right? So as long as this card remains face up on the field, your other monsters cannot change their battle positions or attack. So that's crazy good. Select 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field. But I mean, the downside is like this effect, you won't be able to use it if you summon it with Instant Fusion. But at the very least, it's got the effect that, let's see, select 1 monster on your opponent's side of the field and equip it to this card. The attack and defense of this card become the same amount as the monster equipped. And then if this card is destroyed by battle, destroy the equipped monster. But at the very least, it steals your opponent's monster. So what I was thinking is, if you do play 2 or maybe even 3 Instant Fusion, right? That gets a higher chance of summoning Norden, but if by chance you want to, you can summon Thousand Eyes Restrict to take your opponent's monster. He can't attack this turn, and it dies along with your opponent's monster if it's that much of a problem. Now, that seems like a terrible idea, right? But playing it in this deck, with this deck, you can get away with playing a Phantom of Chaos, especially if you're playing the Dark Armed Dragon, right? So let's say we're playing Chaos. You do that. You use your 1 Instant Fusion turn for that, or something. I don't know, you use your Instant Fusion turn to bring that out, right? Takes your opponent's monster. Okay, that's kind of cool. You got rid of some. It goes to the graveyard. All right, so now summon out the Phantom of Chaos, and then Phantom of Chaos's effect. You can banish Thousand Eyes Restrict, and for this 1 turn only, Phantom of Chaos will become Thousand Eyes Restrict. Now, uh, it's only for the end of the turn, and your opponent takes no battle damage. But at the very least, you can have a Thousand Eyes Restrict that can attack, that you basically summon for free. I don't know, 1,000 life points. That's the basic idea, and that's a crazy idea, but that's something I thought of. And again, this isn't a normal deck profile, which it's just an, I don't know, what is this? This is talking about Umbral Horrors, so I guess we get a bonus discussion about Umbral Horrors. That's the basic idea that I had. That's a terrible idea, and I do not think it will work, but it is worth trying if you're crazy enough. I mean, at the very least, if somehow your opponent exceeds Revenge, or what's the one? Oh no, the one that brings your monsters back, but they're one level lower. At the very least, if you happen to play a Leviair, you can wombo combo Leviair to summon the Thousand Eyes Restrict. But I don't know. That's something else completely. But I mean, well, okay. If we played any Reborn spell or traps in this deck, which we don't, the only thing we play is Drew. I mean, if we played any Reborn spells in the deck, at the very least, you can instant fusion, bring that, use it for a turn. It goes to the grave, and then you can reborn it, use the effect, you know, have as much fun as you can with it. And then once you run out of reborn stuff, then you can Phantom of Chaos. And then, like I said, Phantom of Chaos has its own use aside from that. But that is the crazy idea I thought of. It's not going to work, and I'm not even going to bother testing it. You know, well, maybe if I do a live stream, I'll consider testing it. But either way, this has been it for this little deck profile / deck discussion with a bit of crazy ideas starring the Thousand Eyes Restrict. But basically, this is the Umbral Horror deck that I'm testing out right now. The only crazy stuff, I guess, is the Raid Raptor singing Lanius. I feel like Mandragora is a pretty sound idea, but aside from that, you know, you can just swap out the Raid Raptor singing Lanius for anything else you want if you want to. And again, I guess I patented that Thousand Eyes Restrict idea, so I'm gonna find Bro's trademark it. Anyway, if you enjoyed the content, remember to subscribe. Also, leave a like and a comment to show your support. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers, because when I reach that, I will do a face reveal. Oh wait, no, I already did something like that on my other channel, which you should definitely check out. It's always carded, it's always linked, it's always suggested, and always annotated. Anyway, this has been King of Pharaoh Imps. Have a nice day.